when I was 14, I started doing the social media thing, and I found a loophole that there is a very big market in the e-commerce side of things. And then that time, the e-commerce thing was just starting out. Being a young female in the business side, it's really difficult, to be honest.
Really?
Because you have to be in a very masculine role when you're sitting in the boss chair. You know, being a young female, there are chances where people try to hit on you.
Really?
That is a very common
Has that ever
thing.
happened?
Oh, a lot of times.
How do you deal with it?
Rich kids that you're referring to, it's not possible. Okay, they have their parents' money now. What happens when your dad goes away or your mom goes away? What are you gonna sustain on then? Money will go away when they go away. So you have to work for yourself. You have to make a living. You cannot be living off your parents' money no matter how much money that they have.
The Infinite Perspective Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Infinite Perspective Podcast. I'm your host, Hamad Mustafa, speaking to you from Dubai. Today, I'm incredibly excited to be speaking to Siya Verma, a 20-year-old entrepreneur who joined her family business at the age of 14 and has helped propel the business to millions in revenue. We're going to talk to her about business, about her mindsets, her thoughts on, personal life, how to be successful, and much more. So without further ado, welcome to the podcast. How are you doing?
Thank you so much for having me, Hamad. It is a pleasure to be on your podcast.
Let's know more about you, first of all. We're going to move on to talking about the business and everything, but who are you?
Okay. So I would explain myself as a person who's really intrigued to know more about self-development, business, in cultures, religion, and those are the different things that I would be really keen about going more into, and that I love reading about. I love reading a lot of business books, and yeah, that's where it goes on.
I mean, I first met you at your office and you gave me the tour. First of all, it's a wonderful, lovely office.
Thank
It's
you.
huge, it's massive, and I really actually got inspired. You're 20 years old, I'm 23, but you really have that CEO attitude in you, that you would expect to see in someone who's much more experienced, but you still have that.
Definitely.
And I've seen you manage people. So I want to get to know more about the fact of why did you decide to join a family business, right? So a lot of my friends, our families have businesses, right?
Mm-hmm.
But people, what they do is they want to study, they want to go to university, get a degree, and get some sort of job. People are not really interested in family business.
Yeah.
What prompted you to join your family business?
I mean, I think with the family business, there's both the roads that have been taken. Like, one side of the people are like, I don't want to go in the family business. But the other side is, okay, how can I make it more better and get it right what my parents could have done, but they haven't done? Like, you find the loopholes there. And when I was 14, I started doing the social media thing, and I found a loophole that there is a very big market in the e-commerce side of things. And then that time, the e-commerce thing was just starting out. So it just gave me a loophole and the problem statement to help with my parents' businesses. And, with the parent business, there is also a thing of proof of idea. And, I'm a techie. So their business related with me.
Yeah.
People might have their parents as doctors, and you have to study to sit in their clinic or whatever. But in terms of that, I think it really depends on what type of a person you are. If I wasn't a techie, and if I was maybe a kind of a geek or something that I want to study more, I want to be a doctor, then it wouldn't have been a path for me. But because I'm a techie, I think it worked out for me, and then I found my problem statement as well.
I see. That's wonderful. Now, more about your family business, what it is that you guys exactly...
So we are in the refurbished electronic devices business, in which we have the expertise of 27 years. My dad and my mom has been in the business for 20 years. So they started this business together. My dad was one of the first exporters from India. So that goes like a lot of experience was in this
Of course.
niche itself. So I was like, I have the experience, I have the tech side and the new thing that we can explore. And in terms of the family business, we're the leading supplier for all of the big marketplaces, Amazon, Noon, and others which are there in this niche as well. So that's what we do, and we allow people to have refurbished affordable,
Sustainable.
reliable, and sustainable tech. So in our desi countries and even countries which are like Egypt and all of that, they do not have the access to buy the devices that they want. They still have a lack of market that they cannot get the devices that they want at an affordable price. So that's where we come in. We're supplying to 30 countries
I see.
through our own website and all of that. So that's the mission for the company, that we want to provide affordable devices at the best prices, and those are reliable with the 27 years of experience, and because we're refurbishing them, so they're reducing electronic waste as well.
Okay, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
And precisely, there is a gap for that demand for, of course, countries which kind of lack that purchasing power. But at the same time, you're essentially doing that's inherently good because it's sustainable, like you said.
Yeah.
And I think that is a very key ingredient in successful businesses going forward in the future. That's a
Yeah,
huge priority.
definitely.
So I do have a question, however. You decided to join the business because you learned that it could be much more amplified in terms of revenue through digital marketing. So what it is exactly that you did in that early stage that helped the business grow?
Right. So I think when I stepped into the family business, first of all, I learned that we are sustainable by doing the marketing. So when you're diving into the business, you understand a lot more aspects than you know in the start. But in terms of the digital marketing space, I think we were not doing any content marketing. Like, there was no organic content that was being posted out. It was just like product price and graphics, and it was just the basic way of going forward before. And we had a very basic website, which was like we were there on that scale, but it was not that massive.
Okay.
So by doing the digital marketing, like the performance marketing ads, and then other ads through Facebook and Instagram, and then TikTok as well, we found a lot of things that we were missing out on.
Yeah.
So I think content creation was one thing that we were really missing out on, because it gave, now that I look at it, people know me as the FoneZone girly, because I'm coming on the camera, I'm talking, I'm giving out the deals, even the electronic waste side. So I think when you put out the content, it gives you the genuine and the authentic appeal to the audience that, okay, there's someone that I know, and I've been seeing her on the page, that they know me. And if they even come in the office, oh, you're the FoneZone girl, even if they don't know my name, they would know me by that. So I think that was one of the main aspects that we were missing out on.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. And more on the technical side, though, what kind of because a lot of people try to do digital marketing but kind of fail because the cost overall is high and they're not exactly getting great leads. So did you guys have like a product page, and did that funnel exactly into online sales, or how was it exactly?
So I think with marketing, you have to do the hit and trial method. What works for me might not work for my different website. Like, I have multiple websites.
Right.
So if it works for my phonezone.ae, it might not work for phonezone.com. And, it goes with the different countries. They have different demographics, different ad appeals. So I think every time that you have to edit the ad set, you have to try out the try and test method. You have to see, okay, if I made this type of ad creative, this is working, but this one might not. So it really depends on what works for your audience. And one thing that I think right now we need to look at, anyone who's doing business, is that have a good customer retention, because there's a lot of competition now. Like, even if I look in my sector, there's a lot of competition. But what makes you stand out? Why would a customer buy from you and not from the other party or whatever other company? So I think you need to have your own unique selling point in your ad creatives, in your marketing strategy, in your, it should be a consistent brand voice. That why do you want to work on that, and why would a customer buy from you?
You talked about customer retention. Do you mean to say more so the customer experience with the company specifically?
I mean, yeah, that comes into the picture. But customer retention, okay, if someone bought from you maybe yesterday. Did you take their feedback on how the product was?
Right.
After like 1 month, if you see a pattern that I have a lot of customers who buy regularly from us. So if I do not reach out to them, give them a tiny little push, they might not want to buy from me again. But
Yeah.
if I give them that tiny little push by the customer retention techniques and strategies,
Yeah.
they would want to come back and buy from me again. So it really depends on how and what you do of your customer journey of after they place the order, and if they had a complaint, if they had a problem, how did you tackle it? And then it just does not depend on the marketing side, because everyone that I see now, they're so focused on getting the marketing and getting the leads that they do not care what happens after they get the order. Like, they're so behind getting the order that they forget after getting the order there's a lot more that goes on. And if you get one customer and you get them to order, and then if you give them a really good experience, they might want to refer to 10 different friends as well.
Absolutely.
That's what happens in a general business, which people forget to do, like, at this point, that I feel.
So, and that's essentially brand loyalty. That's how you build
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
And, I feel like some big brands, some huge companies, such as Apple, etc., I feel like some of them even lack in this, even though they are trillion-dollar companies.
100%.
One example that I can give that I feel like they're excellent in this regard is, I want to quote Jeff Bezos. When they started Amazon, he mentioned that there was this one of the things that made them so successful and stand out from the competitors was this one thing, and that was customer obsession, right? So they decided, if you can specifically set the KPIs as and measure customer satisfaction, and you obsess on that, you're essentially gonna refine all of the knobs in your company that lead up to that customer experience
Exactly,
being better. And that is what essentially drives your company to be bigger. Like you said, referrals, etc., building brand loyalty. An example that I want to give is Amazon Prime, Prime Video. Prime Video specifically actually loses a lot of money. So it's not a profitable venture for Amazon.
Yeah.
But they still do it to keep that Prime subscription for the customers. It's just it's to enhance that experience. And exactly like you said, it's absolutely essential for the company. And do you have like recommendations on how people can improve this within their businesses, like just broad examples that you could
Yeah,
perhaps
I think the first step would be just be in touch with the customers. That I think like what I specifically do, it might not work for other businesses, but I try to take feedbacks from the customers personally, because if I am the one understanding and hearing from the customer directly, I will not get a filtered version of it. I will know, okay, if they place the order, the delivery got delayed. Or if they place the order, the product was not fine, it has some problem. And if they had the problem, what was the issue after it? If they got a good reply after it, if the pickup was very smooth and very sober so that they can easily get it done. But if I do not take that feedback, I would not know what the problem is. So I think taking the feedbacks is the first step to go forward.
Okay.
And then try making your targeted customers in divisions. There are a lot of brand loyalty apps on Shopify and stuff also, in which you can divide your customers on based of their purchase history,
Right.
about the amount that they spend on the orders, and on that basis you can start different campaigns. You can see a pattern between them, and then you can start reaching out to them according to what frequency that they buy on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the reason why I asked you how you did that, how you went around with the digital marketing, is because I feel like I have a fashion brand. So the marketing, I feel like for that is quite easy to do in the sense that it's very predictable because you have a lot of other brands. Your business is quite niche, I would say.
Yeah.
It's very, in my head, seems difficult for me, someone who has no experience, to do the digital marketing for. And that's why I specifically asked you what you did with that. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, with refurbished products, even though it's an amazing business model, I get the impression that there is a certain degree of risk that comes with it. Because what if something wrong? I don't know. I have no technical knowledge about this.
Definitely, no problem.
But How does that go about? Do you ever have that risk factor?
100%. Each customer that comes to us, a person who's never bought a refurbished device, or if they're buying it for themselves, their daughter, their wife, or anything, the first thing of their thought is, should I just buy a new one or should I buy a refurbished? Like, I think buying a refurbished would give me a headache. And that is something that we try to get out through our policies and our customer service and how we handle our customers. So that is nothing to do with how I can, like, if a customer is having that thought, I cannot do anything on my marketing perspective to change that. But what I can do is I can give them the warranty of 1 year. I can give them the 7 days refund and exchange policy. I can give them that trustability that I am the person who's leading the business and I am available for you whenever you need me. And I am the one who's handling the complaints and all of that. So they need to feel like they're being secured.
I see.
And if they have a problem, they'll be heard.
Yeah.
So it's not like if you buy from Amazon, they do not have problems. And the best thing that Amazon does is, you have a problem, pick it up, refund. That's it. And then the customer would buy it again. But why? Because they give them such a smooth journey after it that even if they have the problem, they know that it's going to be okay if I have a problem.
Absolutely.
So they're not scared of the problem. They know that the company will handle it and take care of them.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I've had, I don't recall exactly what the return window is for Amazon, but I've had cases where a product, maybe I lost a part of a product and I had to return it. Maybe they let me return it after 30 days. And that's why I'm like, dude, I can get anything from Amazon. Like, these people are trustworthy. So I think that is a very important point that you just raised with refurbished. People have that doubt. And you're giving them essentially peace of mind by offering those things like that warranty and the return window. So now moving on to more so the business side and how you personally indulge in it. What are the dynamics of being a young woman in business?
I think being a young female in the business side, it's really difficult, to be honest.
Really?
Because you have to be in a very masculine role when you're sitting in the boss chair. You have to lead a lot of people and you have to make sure that you're getting things done by them. So you're literally in your masculine the whole time. And when you try to be in your feminine, in the starting, I used to have a lot of problem. Like, I used to still be in my masculine and I used to not have that feminine traits. I used to just be working all the time and I forgot to take care of myself. And I eventually got burned out, like really bad, that I got fed up with everything that I was doing and I wanted to give up. So I think being a female in the business, anyone that starts out, the only advice I give to people that I meet is that don't forget your feminine. Don't forget your taking care of yourself, putting your mental health, putting your needs, because a way that a man can handle a business or whatever the mentality that they can work on is definitely something that only they can. But being a female, you cannot go on the same path because your body is different, your hormones are different, you have a different cycle altogether, and then you're not at the same as a man. It's not possible. So don't pressurize yourself to fit in that role. Just be what you are and be in that zone while being your feminine and masculine. Lead and then go on. Because if you try to be the masculine version all the time, it's eventually gonna get to a point where you'll be like, okay, I cannot do this anymore. And that's where the burnout comes out, which is not a great thing that happens.
Okay. So the point that you've just raised about men naturally have some advantages over women in businesses. That's absolutely
definitely
true. Like, men, you could say, are naturally at the baseline level more assertive than women, right?
Yeah.
But what would you say you think that are advantages that you have as a woman over perhaps men in business?
I mean, being a woman in the business, I think I have more cons than pros. You have to be very assertive when you need to be. But still, I think when you're a feminine person, you can still get the work done. It helps a lot when you're trying to be calm. And I think leading a team, you need to have a lot of compassion and care for the people in order to build a family. So I think being from the masculine side, I think that's not really that possible. But being in the feminine role, I think it's really possible because that's what we are supposed to do make a group, make a family, and that's easier on that part, definitely.
No, absolutely true. And I mean, I have read that there are studies that indicate that women tend to be better at reading body language and social cues compared to
Yeah.
men because of the fact that they have a natural need to be mothers.
Yeah.
And so essentially, subconsciously, they're better at picking up body
I
language.
think the
and cues.
feminine intuition is something that men don't have.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's the best thing that I think the feminine, like the females have when they're leading the business, because an intuition when a female has, because they have to read a lot of people
Yeah.
in the terms of their personal life, in terms of anything. So when they can see what the intention of the person in front of them is,
Yeah.
even by just meeting them, they can tell, okay, I don't think so I'm supposed to do business with this person, being it a man or a female. They can read the cues very well. So yeah, that's there.
Has there ever been a case where your intuition has kind of shocked you because you picked up something that you know normally someone else wouldn't have?
I think, yeah. There was an instant that I was going to a meeting, and being a young female, there are chances where people try to hit on you.
Really?
That is a very common
Has that ever
thing.
happened?
Oh, a lot of times.
How do you deal with it?
I mean, I think you just have to set your boundaries. You just have to learn to say no and just back off that thing. Because when you're a female in business, you need to understand that, okay, you're a female, people are going to hit on you. That's normal. But how do you be in business? You can lead. And how do you maintain your boundaries? How can you say no? Because as a female, it's difficult to say no. It's just a general first baseline. People who get into business first, being it male, female, they cannot say no. Most of the people that I've seen.
I mean, I don't mean this in any offensive way, but women are typically more people-pleasing compared to men.
Yeah, definitely.
So
Definitely.
And like thinking about business, I mean, business usually has people who are older.
Yeah.
So am I correct to assume like these were older people who kind of?
I mean, I don't think so. They're all older, but like, yes, older and the middle-aged ones. But because, you need to act in a certain way when you're around people, and, your body language gives off enough to the other person that not interested.
Yeah. No, that needs to be.
Yeah,
pretty much-
that you need to set your boundary. You need to have your own body language. You need to have your own composure. And there might be signs where people might push it a lot, but you still need to say no. That, okay, no, I don't think so. You're leaning on into a good way, and I'm not comfortable in having this conversation, so I'll be leaving now. So you need to have those boundaries with yourself.
No, absolutely. But you were saying something about you were going to this meeting and.
Yeah. So there was this one instance that a guy who's like 10 years older than me,
Okay.
and he was trying to just hit on me, and I was like, okay, that's not really happening. So you need to just have your own boundaries and learn up to say no. And it's a common thing that happens, but you just need to know your boundaries, and you need to know how to say no. I think that's the baseline.
in general, more so about business. Like I'm just saying this in a broad sense, not about people like hitting on you. I'm a guy, but even I sometimes find it hard to say no to people. And I've seen it as a skill that you need to acquire sometimes.
Definitely.
Because if you were raised in circumstances where, there were
Yeah.
instances.
When you're a childhood, you have a situation where you're people-pleasing all the time, and you're
Exactly.
supposed to follow everything the other person says. In a childhood, yes, I think it is really difficult to say no when you're born and raised in an atmosphere like
Exactly. So how do you kind of acquire that skill? Was that something you had to acquire?
that. Yeah, I had to acquire it 100% because I am the eldest sister in my family, so I think I've done a lot of responsibilities in my family as well. So being a girl, I think generally in Desi families, it's a bit difficult to say no to people. That, okay, no,
Yeah.
you're not going to say that to me. No, I'm not going to follow what you say. Because mentality-wise, not all families, I am blessed that I don't have a family like that, but seeing my friends and all of that, they have to listen to everything that their parents say, and they do not have a chance to speak up. So I think because of that, people lose their voice growing up. And when they have the thing that they have to speak up from themselves, they're not able to do that.
Yeah.
So for me, I didn't lose my voice, but there were some circumstances in my life where I got misleaded and I lost my way, and I was so confused on what was happening in my life. But I think eventually you come on your path, God leads you there, and you learn how to say no. So it's just the experiences that brought me and got me used to saying no. So it's definitely a thing.
Precisely. And aside from just no as well, it's also about sometimes the fear of asking people, right? You'd be surprised. I was reading about this. I was watching this course about business. It was basically MBA in one course, and the coach actually gave one brilliant advice for people who are starting out. For your board of advisors, right? What you can do is you can connect with people, like look up your favorite company, for example, Google, and let's say you live in California somewhere, and you want to connect with someone who works at Google. You just type Google, you connect with all the people that are relevant within your field who work at Google or with other companies. And if you connect, you just type a simple message. You say, hi, really happy to connect. Would love to meet up and have coffee with you sometimes. Please let me know if that works. Just a simple message. You're asking them for, a coffee. And once you meet them for coffee, you talk about them, you talk about your business, and if it all goes well, you just, at the end of the conversation, you ask them to be on your board of direct advisors. And it's as simple as asking. You're never gonna know what the answer is, of course, but it's better than not taking the shot at all.
Yeah, definitely. It's the fear of rejection that comes in.
And has there ever been a case where you've asked for something and you didn't think that you would actually get a yes, but it was actually a very it kind of really surprised you?
Yeah, that was a scenario. It was actually not that big of a thing, but it was more of an event that I wanted to go to. It was like really last minute, and I was gonna get the ticket, and I was like, okay, it's tomorrow. I don't think so I'm getting the ticket. But it's like, sometimes, like my dad always tells me that you never know what last push of yours is going to get you the final outcome.
Absolutely.
So do not just stop till one step behind. Give it 100% of you, and if it still doesn't work out, that's your destiny or that's your path, however it's supposed to happen. But don't stop. Like if you have to get it done, give it 110% and do everything in your favor that you can get it done. So it happened that way, and the event was the next day. I pushed it. I reached out to the assistant who was handling the whole tickets thing, and she was like, okay, I arranged a ticket for you last minute and just make the payment. I was like, okay, that's great. I'll do that.
Right.
Yeah.
I love what your father said, because it reminds me of this thing that I read, that majority of people, when they're starting a business or, working on a project, they put in 80% of the work, the majority of people. But what makes a person be in the top 1% of successful people is the last 20%.
100%.
Not everyone puts that last 20%, that push that requires you to go to 100. And
I think what the numbers that you said, I think it's like 99.9% people do it. And then that rest 1% is the one that they don't do.
Absolutely.
And that's why they just feel like, oh, it's not working. But did you put your 100% in doing it? Because there have been a lot of scenarios in my business journey for 6 years now. I've started at 14, doing it at 20. There was like numerous times where it was like, it's not going to happen. I don't think so I'm going to make it. I don't think so it's going to happen. But like that one last effort, which was just so small, makes it through. And that is something that I learned with time. And my dad says it over and over again, that put everything that you have on stake. And that's when it's going to work.
But, for that 99% and putting that last 1% in, I mean, it takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot from you. Do you feel like you've sacrificed anything from your youth being in business? Really?
I have. I think that's the whole point. Like, I think the reason why I am having the mindset, the attitude of someone who can lead a business, I think it's all together because I cut off everything that was not working for me. I dropped out when I was in, I did my normal schooling till 10th, and then 11th and 12th I dropped out. I just gave my exams. And after I did that, I was in no contact with any of my school friends, a group that I was like I loved the most. And when I did that, I chose a path that was not most taken. So I think in 9th grade or 10th grade, maybe there was, in our CBSE grade, there was a poem, The Road Not Taken. Most of the CBSE kids would know it. And it says about there are always two roads that were going to be there.
Yeah.
One is the most walked upon, and one is the one that was not going to be walked upon, but you don't know what's going to be at the end of it.
Right.
And that poem like stuck with me like so bad throughout till time. And I took the road that was not walked upon, and I didn't know what's going to happen. And you wouldn't believe, like 11th and 12th, I used to cry each and every other day because I didn't know what was I doing. I was like questioning myself each and every day. Am I doing the right thing? Is it going to be the one that I think, or the thing that I need? Am I doing the right thing for my career? Did I do the right thing to leave the school? And it was a very big what if. I had to lose a lot of friends. I got I was just, Alex Hermonze, he said one thing, that every successful person has a lonely chapter in their life.
Of course.
And that was my lonely chapter, that I lost every friend of mine. All of my relatives were like, okay, you might not want to leave your schooling, don't leave your studies, at least complete your studies. And now when my things are showing off, that the result is coming out, they're like, okay, you did the right thing. So people are going to pull you down no matter what you do. But you just have to be dedicated that, okay, I'm not going to listen to what they're saying. If my intuition says it's right, it's the only thing I'm going to follow.
Would
So,
you
yeah.
change anything if you could go back?
I mean, not in the journey that I took, but maybe in the journey of feeling the guilt of letting go people that were not working out for me. Because I'm a very emotional person, and I get really attached to people that I love. So I think when I was leaving them, it was like really emotional for me that, okay, I'm leaving my best friend, my friendships are not working out, I am not having a friend that I can rely on. But I think in the longer run, these people are not going to work out for me anyways. Because if they were still in my life, they would have... Because your energies don't match. You are on a different energy and on a different frequency. But they're not. So they're going to pull you down and pull you back to that energy. So that's how it just works. So if you want to grow, be okay with cutting off everyone that's not working for you and pulling you down and your energy down.
But I'm curious to know, what exactly what do you mean by pulling down?
Okay, so for example, like you're doing your work. Like I used to work at nights, and in the day, like when I'm working. So I used to have like a crazy schedule. I'm working from 16 hours to 17 hours any day. So my friends used to call me. Okay, what are you doing? Come out. Let's go out. No, why are you doing this? You're just stuck at home. Why do you not want to go out? That's what happens. They don't intentionally pull you down, but they want you to come out and have fun. So my dad just says this one thing: it's either 5 years of hard work or 50 years of hard work. You choose which hard work do you want to do. It's either you do 5 years of hard work and you enjoy for the rest 50, or you do the 50 years of hard work and you can enjoy for the 5 right now. So I was like, I am no way enjoying my 5 years right now. That's a really stupid deal. So I was like, I'm not going to go for the parties. I don't want to go to any parties. And it just came into my personality that these parties do not appeal to me anymore.
Okay.
The ones that they used to, or the friend group that they used to appeal to me. Now, if you tell to me that talk to them, it would be a headache. I cannot have a conversation with them. Because a conversation with them is going to be about the same old things that they were talking about 5 years before. But now, those 5 years, like even the 5 years have gone, they're still on the same conversations, and the friend group doesn't work for you anymore. Yeah.
I guess I kind of understand what you're talking about, and it's not so much even about the fact that maybe they're talking about what the concerts, movies. That's fine, I think, but I guess what you're trying to come at is more so gossip and petty things that don't matter.
Yeah, I think it's not even about the gossip. It's just, going to parties. You can either work and grind off and go to the best party that you can, spend a great amount and enjoy. And you can even go to a vacation that you have the money, it's your money, and you're not asking anybody's permission to spend it. But they are doing the same thing, and they're going to parties which are not at that grayscale because they have a limitation of the budget. They're not fully enjoying it. They're using their parents' money or whatever income source that they use, and it's just not a way that I want to live. That's not how it works for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one thing that I really admire you about is that you took an active role in your family's company and actually decided to work, because we have this thing in overall in South Asia, in Pakistan, I see this a lot, that young guys whose fathers have businesses, they're gonna do nothing for the rest of their life, and I think that's a very miserable existence, and they'll flex about their parents' money, about the fact that my dad has this, you don't know who my dad is, because then who are you as a person, and that's not something that I accept personally for me, and obviously you didn't decide to go on that route as well. But what's your opinion about that? Rich kids and they decide to do nothing at all.
I mean,
brag about it.
Yeah, there's nothing that can be said about them. They think they're doing pretty good, and I don't think anybody needs to waste time on them, talking about them when they think that they're right. I think it's best that you just let them be.
And I want to quote Andrew Tate on this.
Yeah.
He said something like, if you're going from 0 kilometers per hour, you're in a fast car, you're going from 0 kilometers an hour to 200 kilometers an hour, you're going to feel that change. You're going to feel that speed. It's going to feel fast to you. But if you're at like 170 kilometers per hour, you were just going at that speed, and then you go to 200. You were already going fast. You're not going to feel the difference. You're not going to understand the value of that thrill. You're not going to get that
They're just missing out on
rush,
life.
So it's also about the fact that when you make money, when you start making money, you understand the value of it, because you know
that comes along.
The struggle and the hard work that comes along.
Definitely.
And that's very crucial to, I say this one thing about myself. If I become successful, I want to bear the scars that show that I worked for it.
Yeah.
You know why? Because when people see the scars, when people see the journey, they don't mess with you.
Yeah,
Okay?
definitely.
In business, in personal life, whatever. But if you don't have the scars, you're just chilling, relaxing, you didn't work for anything, someone's going to mess with you, you're not going to know how to deal with them.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think it's very important to go through that pain as a young person in business.
I think the people that you're referring to, they're mostly the generational wealthy.
Yeah.
Because my dad, he struggled all his life. He started when he was in 8th grade or 9th grade maybe, and he did every possible thing that he had to do to sustain his family, because my dad's father died. My grandfather, he died on a very young, he passed away when my dad was really young. So my mom, my aunts and my grandmom, he had to sustain them. So in order to sustain them, he had to do anything possible in his power to keep the family going. So when you have done all the hard work and you know how cruel and how bad the world is, you want to make sure that your kid is equally prepared for everything. So they want to make sure that their kid is done and they can handle the world when they're gone away. But if that's a generational wealthy, most of the people, they want to pamper their kid. They over-pamper them, give them everything that they want. Like, when I was a kid, I used to have a reward. Like, if you do this, then you get that. And I think that's the way it should be. If you give a kid everything that they want at the time they ask for it, they'll just grow to become ungrateful. And that's not a good thing to be. When you become ungrateful, the universe stops giving you. And also that you stop valuing the things that you have. So when you know the gratefulness and you are grateful for what you have, you've worked for getting what you want, then that's when the things actually start to work out and you work hard for them. So that's the mindset I think the parents now also, they try to raise them like that. Yeah.
And I think one part of that, without being humble, without having humility, you can never be grateful. Because you can never understand that what you could have potentially been missing out on in life.
Yeah.
And having a humble mindset allows you to grow as well, because you know that you're at a certain level
Yeah.
that is not yet the top. You can always improve. You can always get better.
You know, there's a saying for this, that if there's a tree that is grounded and has a very rough and tough trunk on it, and then that's growing, and there's a small plant that is still weak on the bottom and that tries to go on the length, when a wind comes or a storm comes, that plant doesn't have a chance. But the tree that has been good on the foundation, it's built its strength and it's built everything, it has the scars, it has everything, when it grows, the storm will not do anything to it. It might have some wear and tear, but it'll not break, that's for sure.
True.
So I think when you're in business, one thing is definitely there, that you want to have a great foundation. You want to have a great mindset when you're starting out. It should not be, money should not be the motivator for you to do the business. Because I think in every person who has been in a successful business, they've had, my dad, for example, he's had his high and then he's had his low and then again high and low. It's just the nature of business, and it's just the money, how it works. Money will not stay with you throughout your life. It's meant to go away, and it will go away. But when it goes away, that's when you'll realize that what's going to happen and how you're going to handle it. And even the rich kids that you're referring to, it's not possible. Okay, they have their parents' money now. What happens when your dad goes away or your mom goes away? What are you going to sustain on then? Money will go away when they go away. So you have to work for yourself. You have to make a living. You cannot be living off your parents' money no matter how much money that they have. So I think when you have a great foundation, I think that's how it works.
Right. I want to get your thoughts on imposter syndrome. I was at this group setting, and there was this very esteemed person that I shall not name, but someone asked them about imposter syndrome. And they asked, what's imposter syndrome? And a brief definition of it is that no matter how successful, skilled you are at a certain thing, there's psychological doubts that you have about yourself, about, doubting whether you're good enough at a particular skill, whether or not things will work out. Essentially having an unrational doubt in yourself. Okay, let's say you know how to drive a car, you've been driving for XYZ amount of years, but then you start doubting yourself, do I actually know how to drive? So it's an unreasonable psychological doubt. That is essentially what imposter syndrome is. But what this person said was no, I'm a very confident person. I've never had self-doubts. I don't even know what this is. This is for weak people. Weak people have this. I mean, they don't know that many, even billionaires have this. Huge, famous personalities have this.
Right.
I want to get your thoughts on imposter syndrome. Have you ever dealt with it?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's every day for me then. Every day I feel like, am I doing enough? Is this the correct thing that I'm doing? Every day there are questions that, is the skill enough for me? Do I need to do more? And I think it's a good thing at some extent that when you have those questions, one thing, you'll not get all in the air that I know everything. I have all the things that I need. I'm very good. I'm very amazing. There's a very thin line between overconfidence and confidence. And I think this helps me. I don't know if this is imposter syndrome or whatever, but the questions that I have, they help me to be on the path to know more, to get myself to grow more and learn more, to read more. It gives me the space to know the things that I don't know already. But if I didn't have these questions, after a while I would think that, okay, I would get in my comfort zone. I would be like, okay, I'm fine. I don't need anything else. For example, parents of ours, they're not so good with AI. They think, oh, it's not required. Not in my family, though, but my dad is a very crazy techie. He wants to do everything that comes in tech. But my friends and my other relatives, they're like, oh, no, AI is not going to replace us. It is going to replace you. It's not going to replace the people who do not know how to handle it. You need to know how AI works.
Yeah.
So when you do not have those questions, am I doing enough? Do I need to know the skill? And all of that, I think that would be something that would drag you down then.
About AI, I want to bring that up. I don't think it's a matter of liking something or not. It's about the fact that you need to catch up or you're going to left behind. It's not about whether you like something or not. It's like when people used to be, ride around horses. Many people would have said, I don't like cars because it's not a living thing. It's an object. But eventually, like, we all drive now. Have you ever seen
it's a world transition. You cannot help it.
So with AI, I mean, there's been cases where people initially used to say, because I've been into AI development for pretty much my whole life, people used to say AI is never going to have that creative spirit. Well, guess what? Now it can generate images, it can generate videos. It was literally used in the movie that was nominated for nominated for the Oscars, and the best actor, who Adrian Brody, I believe is his name. They used it to enhance his Hungarian accent in the role that he was portraying. So it's being used in films now, right? It can write a whole script for you for your movie. So, eventually it's going to replace everything, perhaps, eventually. So it's not a matter of liking it or not. It's a matter of understanding it so you can learn how to use it and not be replaced, essentially.
Right. So it's exactly that. If a person knows how to give the actual commands, the way that the AI works, if you know how to control it, how to get the work out of it, because I think it's more of a productive app that helps you to be more productive.
Yeah.
Right? Why do you want to research, okay, what's the answer for that, when you can just put that question and you're going to get the answer in a minute. Not even a minute, in fact. So I think it's just helps you with the productivity. It helps you in a lot of ways. The creative aspect, maybe I would use it, but I'm not that big of a fan with the creative aspect of AI yet. But, though at the scale it's growing, you never know. So, with the productivity, with the generative ChatGPT and all, they're very productive. They help you with a lot of things, like, the scripts, everything. So, that's definitely there.
Absolutely. It's giving you a edge. It's giving people an edge, and it's the matter that you don't want to get left behind, because your competitors might be, their productivity might be 10x compared to yours because you're not using it. And you obviously want to compete, and it's then, of course, not a matter of liking something or not. Then you're going to have to use it. I want to move on to this other topic that kind of leads from our imposter syndrome conversation. I want to ask you about hustle culture, right? So we have two extremes, where there's people who don't want to do anything and live off their parents' money, and then there's people who want to hustle, and sometimes it's driven by excessive materialism, in my opinion, right?
I agree.
Certain people who sell courses advertise being around girls, renting fancy cars, hotels, etc. They spend all of their budget of living a week in some in Dubai or Singapore, etc. To sell their courses, and that, I think, feeds a very unhealthy perspective and obsession on money. What's your opinion on that?
I think, firstly, what's your definition of success? For me, success means having a healthy family, having a good perspective of yourself, having a good mindset, and having a partner that you can rely on, and that does not want to go around into this hustle culture specifically. But in terms of this hustle culture, I think it's very negative. Like, with the new 13, 14-year-old coming up, they feel like, okay, I can make a drop shipping store, and I can make that store, and I can make $1 million out of it. But that's not how it works. That's 100% not how it works. Opening a Shopify store is easy, but how do you sustain it? Drop shipping, okay, you need to get the suppliers in order. You need to make your Shopify store in terms. And if you want to run ads, then there are a million things that comes into the picture when you want to start your ads. Because Google and Meta are getting strict day by day. Their policies change so fast that even, like, we've been in the business for so long, it's hard for us to keep up. You put a wrong address and they're going to suspend your accounts. How do you run ads like that? And it's just not practical. By drop shipping, you're selling such most basic thing There's price competitiveness. There's a million more things. Customer experience, customer authenticity. Customers are so smart these days. They want, and they're so aware. They want a brand that has a local location nearby them. Why would they want to buy from a place that they do not know, that doesn't have an address and all of that? There's so much of scams going on. Why would they trust you? Being with the drop shipping stores, there's a lot of things. And definitely I've seen a lot of influencers who try to show off their materialistic things and going around girls and all of that. I think it's just not right. You are okay to get the money that you want by selling your courses. You're just not misleading the youth, but you're also ruining their perspective about what success means. You don't need to have 10 different girls to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to have a Ferrari to be successful. You don't need to go on a business trip or stay in the most expensive hotel to be successful. I think it's just, what does your success mean? Because it's just, at least for me, the meaning of my success is not like that. If I'm successful, I want to have a peaceful life, not being worried about what my bank account holds, spending whatever I want for my family, for my thing, in what I need, not for what I want. Sometimes it can be a want.
Yeah.
And it stays like that. And being with a person that genuinely wants to be with you and they love you for who you are, not for the money that you're making. Because, okay, these hustle culture people, okay, the people that they're with, the 10 different girls, do you think she's going to stay with you after you lose the material things?
Of course not.
No. She's not going to even stick around for a minute after these things are gone. The real success means having a person that you can stick around when you don't have anything and who's building with you from scratch, who's seen you cry, who's seen you in the worst days, who's seen everything like that. So I think that's what the real success meaning is, and that's how it works. So that's just how it works, and let them have that hustle culture. But I just think that they need to be more aware that they are having a lot of impact on the youth than they think, and the youth thinks that, okay, it's okay to be like that, but it's just not good.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think it's driven by the false assumption that money can come fast.
Yeah, money never comes fast. I think I've been in the business for 6 years. It never comes fast. I think with money, it makes you run, it makes you cry, it makes you grind the most that you can, and it's gonna come when it wants. And it's never gonna be enough. Money is something that no matter how much you have, if you're a millionaire, you wanna become a billionaire. And if you are already a billionaire, you wanna go even beyond that.
Let me tell you a very shocking statistic.
Yeah.
The majority of people who win lotteries lose their money because they do not have the know-how how to manage the money, that they win. So
Right.
You can actually look this up. The majority of people who win,
100%.
they lose the money.
100%. Because money can come to anybody, but do you have the mindset, the expectations, the reality of world to sustain it? Like, you can win lottery and be, okay, I have a lot of things. I can save it up for my kids' college. Or I can get a new Ferrari tomorrow. Or I can buy a house out of debt and I have to pay that installment every other day. But it's just a matter of the mindset, and that's how it works. And people, like the new money people, that's the difference. They want to wear all the brands. They want to be advertising billboard for those brands, and they forget that, okay, you don't need to be a billboard for these brands, right? The most rich people, they do not even wear those brands. So what's the point?
I think it's a very smart business choice for some people to exploit people's desire to be seen. So that's how brands work.
Definitely.
Gucci, Louis Vuitton, etc. You want to be seen as someone who's important. And also, people also exploit greed, right? So everyone wants to get rich fast. And then you take that desire and you try to feed it through a product by showing them that they can. So
Yeah.
I think that's very messed up. Moving on more towards entrepreneurship, you guys have more so a brick and mortar kind of business. It's very physical. You actually have to sell products. And it's not specifically refurbished products, I think that's one of the hardest businesses to build, first of all, in my opinion. So kudos to you guys for coming here so far. I want to ask, why are Indians specifically so good at running businesses? You see a lot of the CEOs in some of the biggest companies in the world are Indians. India itself has a booming private sector, a lot of successful companies. And as a Pakistani, of course, we're supposed to be natural rivals, but I really admire you guys for that. And I feel like we have a lot to learn. The rest of the world has a lot to learn. Why are Indians so good at running businesses?
I think in especially the Marwari culture and in Gujarati culture, it's just that they've been the business people from the beginning of time. That's one thing. And then second, the youth is changing. The youth doesn't want to work in the jobs. They want to solve problems. They want a country that they don't want their kids to be in. So I think they're starting to realize that. And I think one of being a person myself, I really wanted to change something. So that's where the e-waste thing came in. And I was so shocked when I was doing the advertising that, okay, this is something that's actually happening, that's we're solving. So, yeah, I think the youth is changing. And there are a lot of numerous opportunities that are coming in. And people are going out, like they're going to USA, Canada, and they're seeing that, okay, there's nothing left there. We have to change what we have here. So I think that's a push for them to build things that they want to see in the country.
I think that with Indians, one of the reasons why I feel like they're so successful with a lot of businesses is that they will think about what they want to do in life in terms of work or business. They're going to figure out one idea. And they're going to stick to it for a very long time.
100%.
They're going to be very consistent with it, right?
Yeah.
So if a person joins a tech company in India and they happen to go to, for example, the US to work, they're going to stick in that company, and eventually they perform well and they become CEO. Similarly with, for example, businesses like the refurbished business. I feel like if it was probably someone else, they would have realized that there's risk and changed change the product, change the business like 10 different times, right? So I think the fact that there's consistency plays a big part.
Yeah, I think that's taught to us when we were like really small, that put your mind to it and just stick to it. Like if most of us were told to be doctors, engineers and all of that, so when you want to be something like that, or even when you're putting your mind to it, you just have to stick to it. And I don't think so it's just the Indians that do that. Any person who wants to be successful, they have to stick with one goal and just do whatever the hell that they can to get to it. Because if you keep changing your goal, you're not going to get anywhere at the end of the day. So I think that is one thing that happens with the Indian mindset as well. But it is also a very big part that the youth is just done with it. Like they're like, okay, we cannot have a world that we want to bring kids in like this. So yeah, that's pretty much that.
I see. Well, I think we're going to wrap this up soon, but I do want to ask you something.
Sure.
Important. You're going to see this podcast is going to be up on the internet, and you can see it in the future, 10 years from now. So what is something that where would you like to see yourself 10 years into the future, and a message that you would like to give your future self?
Okay, that's a nice question. I think Forbes is one of my goals that I've set personally, that I want to be on the
30 under 30.
30 under 30.
I can see that happening.
Thank you. And definitely to be in terms like something that I'm trying out, to get in touch with the UAE authorities, to give them an idea that the e-waste is a very big problem, and it is increasing day by day because everybody has an obsession about getting the latest iPhone, the latest device, and they just don't have one of them, they have multiple of them. So where are they being discarded of? What is happening to them? They need to understand that that is a problem. So I want to get in touch with the UAE and the other governments to do an initiative in terms of this and help them to first change the products in their government, and then they can proceed on making some laws that can help to regulate the e-waste that is a problem.
Okay.
And definitely to be able to be financially free and have a business that is there and that is running with me, of course, but I do not have to be there. It can be in autopilot mode. So that's the thing that I'm trying to build.
Okay.
So that would be like the 3 top things I have in my head all the time.
All right.
Right.
Brilliant. I think that's excellent. Well, thank you so much for coming
Thank
on to the
you.
podcast. It was an absolute pleasure.
Thank you.